All right, welcome to our Cost Segregation Analysis, CSA. This is an engineering service provided to people generally that have an investment property and that would like to take advantage of front-loaded depreciation. This is a weirder service, not in that it's strange, but that it's not necessarily always tied to a real estate transaction. You can market these to anyone that has an investment property. They should be taking advantage of it. It is kind of an unknown term. Even people that have been in the investment game for a while may have never heard of a CSA or a cost segregation report. And so if you can introduce them to this concept, especially if they're purchasing a property for an investment, so anybody purchasing one for an investment, even your real estate agents may be purchasing property for an investment, or hell, maybe you, the partner, have an investment property that you want to try this out on. We can provide this report, and it's a little known report that takes some of the elements of a home inspection, some of the elements of an accounting firm, all into one model that redepreciates the property and front loads the tax savings. So let's get into this by sharing my screen and showing you an example of a cost segregation report. The cost segregation reports looks like this. It looks like all of our other reports in the top. Your logo will go up here as the representative, but me as the engineer will be represented here. You as the inspector, partner, and our team as the reviewer, so that it's very clear who is responsible for what portion of this report. Just like with all of our reports, this box in here is kind of the executive summary. We don't call it that here, but this is the answer to their problem. A lot of your clients are going to ask, well, what can I save if I do a CSA, or how do I know? And the answer is, this is a very typical example for a property. This is a $463,000 property with a tax savings of, $10,000 or so. That's kind of normal. The client may spend $1,000 on the report and get a savings of $10,000. They also, in full transparency, I guess you'd say, it's not always a true tax savings. You're front loading depreciation, so you're going to give them a tax return, but that will catch up eventually down the road. And so, we like to model. That's why we have multiple numbers here. 1 year model after 5 years, and then the total model tax savings, taking into account the time series value of money, and it takes into account all of the aspects of your investment. The actual savings kind of go down over time because our front loading catches up to the straight line depreciable methods. So I think that like 10% of the value, maybe, what would be a good way to do it? It's like, for every $1 million, you probably save $20,000 or $30,000, $1 million of purchase price or of value of your project. The most savings you'll see are on commercial projects. In fact, I will probably do a video on a commercial cost segregation now that I'm thinking about it, because you see the most value and you can get the most bang for your buck on commercial projects. Especially those that are going to be like, you're going to be buying a business and then renovating that business, turning it into something else, adding on a lot of equipment, things like that. With Airbnb properties and residential stuff, this is very traditional for the savings that you'll see. And in fact, you may just type in their project roughly into ChatGPT or AI, and it could maybe give them a figure close to what we would derive doing the specific modeling. The next sheet is the tax summary sheet, which is really important for the client's accounting firm. We're going to, as the partner, are going to do the inspection. The inspection is actually very, very simple. It's really just photos of the property. I want to see, we will walk you through in our inspection template. We'll walk you through the elements that we need, but we need pictures of the kitchen, landscaping, attic, roof. We just need a bunch of photos of the property, less photos than you would take in a typical home inspection report. just a reality that from the partner side, the workload required is very, very quick. 20 minutes in the field, maybe, to get us the information that we need. Sorry, I got distracted, but the tax summary sheet is all of the major assumptions on where we're putting the dollars and what kind of recovery period we're using. I'm not going to go into the specifics here of all of the methods we use, but just think about what typically is done is that depreciation is done on a straight line basis, where every year a property value will depreciate by a certain amount of dollars every single year. What we do is we take a home and we say, if you're going to depreciate the property under the traditional 39 years, for example, then is that a reality when you divide the property into its major assets? So like here, 27 and a half years is a standard recovery period for the entire property, especially residential. And so we ask ourselves, well, is an appliance going to last 27 years? No. Is your landscaping going to last 27 years? No. So we take the individual elements of what the IRS allows us to front load for depreciation, and we determine a value for those, and we rebucket or reallocate those using a different method and a different recovery period. So long story short, we're going to take what was $560,000 or original basis of $463,000. And at the end, after the depreciation, we're still going to get $463,000. We're just going to reallocate some of these assets into these different buckets with different recovery periods. And we use the method prescribed by the IRS. There's a specific what's called convention type, 40% rule, and bonus eligibility. All of these things are important to how we get to the total unit cost and the actual, graphic of how we've pushed it to the front. But we are me as the engineer, going to look at all these things, evaluate the value of these things, and push them to the front. That's kind of the basis of what you need to know to sell one of these. And please do tell the client, I'm not an expert at cost segregation analysis. You probably aren't. And that they can get a sample report. They can talk to us. They can Google it. But these are great for tax savings. And so without going into all of the details, I'm just going to introduce kind of what you do to get one of these reports as the partner. There's my seal. We will provide all of these reports tables. These break the value into all of the different things that I have to break it into to depreciate these assets differently per year. And you'll see there are various graphs that we form. Here's this one shows you that you get a lot of savings in the beginning, and then it peters out as you continue to go. And then you'll see that we can just bore the accounting firm to monotony with all of our tables that we include, so they can go look up anything they need if they have to. And then what's important is your on-site inspection report, which is not included here on this example, but you'll give us the report to justify the validity of the assets in the field, and then we will put that together for you. What is required from the standpoint of the app? Let's go into our app. 107 Meadow Creek Drive. I'm going to create a project. Just like normal, I'm going to add a DCR. DCR. Cost Segregation Analysis, CSA. And then you'll see that that there are a few things that we need right off the bat from the client. So one of the things that we didn't discuss is there are values in this report that I have to pull from what are called the settlement statement, sometimes called a HUD-1, that's an older term, and the closing disclosure form. So if you sell a CSA, either you're going to have to interact with the client to get this from them, or my team is going to have to. So you will need to make kind of a determination who's going to approach the client. If you're comfortable with us being the middleman, sometimes it's not always just the HUD one. And if it's a large commercial project, then I need to ask them for renovation costs, costs they spent on landscaping, costs that they spent on putting the new air conditioner in, approximation of costs for future renovation projects, things like that. I've got to have to ask them. So it's an ongoing process. The hardest part for us is not getting your report and providing the results. It's actually going through all of these documents to pull out the values we need to then justify what we find in the field through your report. So you'll see, again, these documents here, the cost segregation analysis, you'll click into the report, and we need the project details, which is just the very simple stuff. We've already gone over this a few times. This is under every single project. It's the client's name, the agent's name, the weather, the property type, all that stuff. And then we need the cost segregation analysis photos, which is just photos of the exterior, very easy, and photos of the interior, very easy. We, for a residential project, do not break this down further for now. We probably will eventually start to call out, I need photos of the landscaping, I need photos of the fridge. For now, we are just asking that you take a ton of documentation photos of a residential project, and then we will put together the cost segregation report. If this is a commercial project, we really would like you to call us first. We are set up really well in our process to do small Airbnbs and residential investment projects, but kind of like anything, as the project complications grow, call us first and make sure that we're good. That's not just on cost segregation. That's on a DCR. You know, if you want us to cost out your commercial project, we can definitely do that. If it's a skyscraper, whoa, hey, hold on. That's the same that goes for load bearing wall. If you've watched that video, it's like, we're not going to just get you selling a load bearing wall project out in the field and then just say, yeah, we can do it. And they want to remove 15 different walls down the middle of the home. You know, like, as the complications grow, bring us into the conversation, because then we will be able to provide you with more feedback. Also, our pricing for cost segregation is based on a residential house, maybe a small commercial project like a dentist office or something, but we're not going to do it for a large scale commercial warehouse. It's just not something that we can provide at that fee. So we have to develop a custom fee for you and that you would pass to your client. It is very, very affordable comparative to what the market rate for cost segregation is right now. In fact, I'm amazed at how expensive cost segregation reports are. And so just know that Noble can do them for much, much cheaper than the average competitor. And so we can pass that along to you, the person who's going to do the field work for us. Also, with commercial, I'm going to probably get on the phone and we're going to list off all the things we absolutely need more detailed photos of. The air conditioners, for example, are a big one with commercial facilities. I mean, I need more detailed photos with the bigger the project. So for a single family residential home, go for it. Just give us a bunch of photos, make sure you document it really well, and then give us the information like the HUD one from the client, the closing disclosure forms and things like that. And then we can provide you with a cost segregation report. If you gave us all this information, we could do this in 2 business days like everything else. We rarely get the support documents that we need to provide the CSA in that time frame. And so, you know, it's really on the basis of what the client can get us. If they're like, oh my God, it's April, I need to get this done right now, then maybe we can do it in 2 days if they give us all the information that we need. So just know that these are a little bit of a work with us, we'll work with you kind of situation on the price and the turnaround time and everything associated with doing one of these analysis. I think you'd find that working with any cost segregation firm is going to go the same way. It's not necessarily as cut and dry as some of our other services. So with that, that is, I think, it on cost segregation. Again, advertise that you're front loading depreciation on investment properties, and you will be able to sell these. We do need more information from the client, but ultimately, anybody that you know that's going to rent out their property short term, long term, can benefit from cost segregation and should be getting a cost segregation report. Thanks. See you on the other side.